This whole globalist cabal is beginning to fall apart. All of them, they're leaders, they're chief cooks and bottle washers, they're gurus. They seem to be babbling incoherently. We haven't talked about Klaus Schwab for a while, but check out this clip of Klaus talking about how he wants to turn the freeways of the world into parks.
When we meet for the 20th Governance Summit, you will use an app like Uber, but not anymore to call some driver, but an automatically guided car, a self-driven car, will come to your hotel or wherever you are and will bring you to the airport. No, Los Angeles is one of the cities with the heaviest traffic, who told me in 2030 Los Angeles will be private car driven free. And this will allow to transform highways into parks.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
So where are they going to drive? What's going to happen?
Where are they going to drive the Ubers? Why do they not need freeways
Are they going to be
anymore?
flying at that point, or
Is it because there's only going to be a few people still living that are going to need these rides? What is he saying? Of course, I realize the field marshal there is 85 years old. I guess he just doesn't realize that those great big fleets of his magic Ubers are going to need some asphalt. In fact, they're going to need a lot of asphalt. They're going to need freeways, Klaus. They really are. But you get my point, right? This is one of the globalist gurus who's going to rule the world. And yet he's nuttier than a squirrel turd. And everybody knows it. And so are his compadres. Speaking of squirrel turds, whatever happened to Bill Gates?
We didn't really understand the fatality rate. We didn't understand that it's a fairly low fatality rate and that it's a disease mainly of the elderly, kind of like flu.
Kind of like the flu, huh, Bill? I'm just not quite sure that old Wild Bill ever survived when the little missus took away his kitchen pass.
It was also widely reported that Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein, and that you were not, that was very upsetting to you. Did that play a role in the divorce at all in this process?
Yeah, as I said, it's not one thing, it was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill Gates' wife is describing a man, her former husband, who was somehow addicted to seeing this guy, Jeffrey Epstein. Why is that? Why would he keep going back? To the point his wife had to stage a kind of intervention by going with him. And why do we keep taking Bill Gates seriously?
Even their little child superstars have become punchlines, not for right-leaning comedians, but for left-leaning comedians.
Greta Thunberg is fading as an impression. I have a 4-second impression of her, a 15-year-old high school kid with Asperger's lecturing the world. It's just 2 words, 3 words. How dare you? How dare you?
But that's now. That's happening now. But that wasn't always the case. This was how it was just a little while ago.
Yes, thank you for standing up for the climate, for speaking the truth. And really, it means a lot.
But you continue to walk, okay? Continue, okay? Go ahead.
It wasn't pre-planned. Greta just happened to be going for a stroll, and the Holy Father walked by, and they got a chance to sort of congratulate each other on their works and encourage each other to keep going. So beautiful. But seriously, what is with these old dudes always groveling in front of kids? I think I know what it is. I think we saw it with the synodality. In this case, they're groveling in front of people who know nothing about theology or no catechism at all. They're groveling, we want to listen to you because you matter. It's the same with the kids. It's kind of a narcissistic thing. If children and young people think that we're all hip, well, golly, I guess that makes us really something.
It's a form of narcissism, and so we've seen rising narcissism in the West. Arguably over centuries, but certainly over the last 50 years. psychologists have documented that there's more narcissism, and it was intensified by social media. So Greta Thunberg was a way for elites to actually feel good about themselves, and to she was a sort of a mirror that elites held up to be told that their own extremist views were reflected back at them, and that they were right. So there's efforts for people that, and this is true on the left and the right, to seek reinforcement of their existing views. And so with Greta Thunberg, they got that reinforcement, plus they were then able to wield her as a weapon against their opponents.
I mean, that's exactly it. This preoccupation with youth, with the young globalist leaders, the World Youth Day, library drag queens for the kiddies. These are nothing less than the tactics of narcissistic ideologues. We know that, right? Marxist, oftentimes, but narcissistic, always, all the times, ideologues. And the thing is, with the fall of Greta Thunberg, I mean, another one of Francis's favorite sacred cows tips right on over. Climate change.
What do you make of this phrase, climate change denier? Where does it come from, and what's been the impact of that phrase?
The phrase comes from climate activists wanting to frame their opponents as Holocaust deniers. And so they chose that word deliberately in order to shut down debate. It's a sort of a debate-ending frame aimed at just gaining power over the entire discourse, which has been incredibly successful. It's why when people think of climate change, they think of the end of the world rather than thinking of it as a manageable risk, or one that we're doing a very good job of mitigating already, because carbon emissions have been going down in Britain, the United States, most of Europe, most of the world, for the last 30 to 50 years. In the United States, carbon emissions declined 22% between 2005 and 2020. 61% of that reduction was simply switching from coal to gas. Climate activists are against the two main fuels that are going to reduce carbon emissions, and that are reducing carbon emissions: natural gas and uranium, which thus raises the question of, is their concern really climate change, or are they after something else? Story of environmental progress, particularly over the last 50 years. And I think that reality only intensifies the desire, the exaggerations by climate activists.
So, okay, all very well and good, but do we have any proof that this is happening? Are they really slipping? Well, I think one of the things that we can look at is the latest crash and burn project over there in the Vatican, and that is Laudate Deum. We talked about this. Don't worry about a thing. Now, the thing is, we all remember Laudato Si. That was a big deal. Remember, the rock stars turned out. Bono absolutely loved it. Laudato Si, Pope Francis saving the planet. Remember? They did videos about it. It's a big deal. They hugged each other. They exchanged plants. Some of them planted some trees, right in the Vatican gardens. They threw dirt in a potted plant. Remember when Pope Francis did that? I thought that was very profound. Dumps a little dirt in there, and we're like, oh boy, look at him go. Right? Well, that was then, but that's not now. I mean, did you read Laudate Deum? This is the big sequel to Laudato Si. Did you read it? Did you see anything about it in your newspaper? No. Nobody did. Nobody read it. I mean, I've got a copy, but it's right up there on my shelf next to Austin Ivory's page-turner Lettuce Streams, right? So let's start adding things up, friends. It's getting interesting. Why add it up? Does it mean it's all over, that we're out of the woods and nothing to worry? No. What it means is that we need to continue to fight. Resistance isn't futile, and there's every reason to have hope. Not only hope in God, the virtue of hope, the divine virtue, theological virtue of hope, but also the human hope that, hey, maybe they're not going to pull this off. Because look at these clowns. Klaus Schwab, punchline. Bill Gates, punchline. Greta, how dare you, punchline. George Soros, I mean, I guess maybe it's not fair. He's way up in years now. He's farting dust. Probably taking his Jell-O out in the main dining room. But the problem for him and for his legacy is that his successors now, they don't want anything more to do with George Soros than young bishops today want anything to do with Pope Francis, right? Because he's a liability.
Sort of George Soros boogeyman. But, I mean, Soros actually, he is, I believe, the top contributor to the Democratic Party. The second one was Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah.
So, and Soros, I don't know. I mean, he had a very difficult upbringing, and in my opinion, he fundamentally hates humanity. That's my opinion.
Weird dude, but he's got that right. They do. They hate humanity, and they always have, these globalists, you know, their abortion thing and wrecking the family and destroying sexuality of kids and all that. They hate humanity. They hate humanity. He's absolutely right. So we got Schwab now, Gates, Soros, Biden. They're all sort of riding off through the holes in the ozone layer, right? Kind of at the end. They're kind of over now. Who's left? Al Gore, maybe?
And melting the ice and raising the sea level and causing these waves of climate refugees predicted to reach